So we'll see what's going on here. All right, 248, Mike in the Midwest. Let's go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 248 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find anywhere you download your favorite podcast. But you know that because you're a patron and you are our all-star listeners. And I appreciate you so very much. Thank you for allowing us to keep doing the shows. And big news, just found out as I logged in here to do Mike in the Midwest today. We are going to start to be available this next week in a new location called Kick. So if you know Kick, you should be able to get us starting on Monday on that location. So not only Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch will have Kick. So I've heard of it. I've never used it, but I will get us an account there. And starting this next week, you'll be able to stream the show on Kick. So there you go. Boom. Because of your support. So there you go. So hope you're having a great week. We're recording this one on the last day of May 31st, 2025. Hope the month was good to you. Getting ready to get into a new month of June tomorrow. So yeah, exciting times. Summer, big days, big graduations. Scotty G's daughter Emily graduated on Thursday. Super proud of her, having the big party. Wish I could get up to East Lansing today, but got stuff going on around here, and get to head down to Walt Disney World on Tuesday. So I'll be giving you all the coverage of that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. A little bit of Friday morning, but I'm coming home Friday afternoon. So it's a really quick in and out, staying at the Contemporary there with Pam Forrester, getting some media stuff for the travel agency. So if you have any questions about Cool Kids Summer, any of the stuff that's happening down there, that's why we're there. But we'll be streaming and stuff. So I'm not taking the family. So you guys are going along with me. I'll be sharing it all on social media. So follow me, especially on Instagram at Be Our Guest Mike. So let's have some fun with that. I'm super stoked though, because I get to stay at the Contemporary, and I've never stayed there, in one of those garden wing rooms, which are gigantic. And by the way, I love the pool right behind the garden wing rooms. It's this blue pool that's like swirly. It's kind of two-tone blue. It's very 70s. And if you know me, I'm all about retro stuff, and it's so retro back there. And we had a day during COVID. It was like it was right after the parks reopened that I was there with Scott and the Foresters and a bunch of us, and we just spent the entire day in that pool. And it was one of the best days. But looking back, it was one of the craziest days, because it was one of those days where you didn't know what was going on with the world. Like, like it was still the time where some people were wearing masks outside, and looking back, you didn't need to. And it was so weird, right? Because we were in a swimming pool, but it just felt good to be outside, and we were swimming for the first time in a long time. And Walt Disney World had just reopened, and God, it was a great day. And it was like, I hadn't seen Scott, I hadn't seen the Foresters, it was so many of us. I think Wade was there. It was so much fun. We had so much fun that day. And then it was just in this big retro pool at the Contemporary, looking back over Bay Lake. So I'm kind of glad to get back there. It's going to be fun. So we'll be running around the parks. We're going to a dessert party. I know that was a kind of a special thing we're doing as a group. So do follow along. Excited for this. It's going to be a quick in and out. And then I'm getting super, super, super excited for the podcast cruise on the Disney Magic, sailing on July 6th. So starting tomorrow, and I'm totally this kind of person, we can say that we sail next month. I mean, I'm all about that, right? And I'll be honest, I have been consuming any kind of vlog that has been on the Disney Magic in the last year. Not necessarily for the vloggers themselves, but I just want to see the ship. I just want to see what the restaurants look like, what the lounges look like, what the staterooms look like, the reviews of the shows. What do they think of Tangled the musical, or Twice Charmed, or Disney Dream, I think it's called. What do they think of Signals, the adult bar, the adult pool? I just like seeing people walk around the ship. Daisy's Delights, the little snack area. I love that stuff. And I've been talking to Scott. I found these one vloggers, and I'm not a big YouTube person. I don't watch a lot of YouTube. I just don't. But I found this couple. They're they're so funny. They're like in their mid 30s, and they don't have very many views on their vlogs, which kills me. Like I told my wife, I made my wife watch the whole thing. And like I said, I don't watch a lot of YouTube, but it's this couple, and they had like less than 1,000 views on each because they did a 5-day cruise on like each day of their vlog. But the guy is so funny because and then I got involved. Like I watched the first day, like the embarkation day, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this guy or not. Like they got on at Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, the first 10 minutes, like, I don't know. Like, but I want to see the ship. Like I just want to see it. So I'm like, I'll hang with this. So and I don't know, like, because I don't watch like YouTube. I don't know if that's how like you like judge if you're like into the YouTube thing or not. But I was like, they're not even on the ship yet. I got to hang with this because I got to see the ship. But then, so this guy, he calls his wife wifey the whole time, but it's like an enduring term. And they're so funny. Like, but what I found out when I got involved, he like hooked me because he's super nice and his hair is always messy. They're in their mid 30s. I think the name of their vlog is something like just another couple in their mid 30s vlogging or something like. I'll get the name and I'll put it in the Discord. And I'll put a link to them because they are awesome. Come to find out, the guy is a voice coach. And so as it goes on, he starts doing like voiceovers and he sounds exactly like Jack Sparrow, like Mickey Mouse, like Donald Duck. And I mean, he does stuff and he like makes up songs throughout these vlogs, and like not only makes up songs, he plays like instruments in the background, like a keyboard and I mean, he makes all this music probably in like garage band or something. I mean, the quality of these things is unbelievable, but he's hilarious. He's funny, but not trying to be funny. Like he's my kind of humor because I made Pam watch it. Like we've watched all 5 days now at this point, like at night when the Cardinals weren't playing. And she's like, you find this hilarious, don't you? I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to cruise with this cat because he's so funny. And I'm like, I can't believe he's only got this many views because this is a riot. And his wife's pretty funny too. But he's like, he's to me, he's the main character, but he's not. He's the narrator where his wife is kind of always on the screen more than he is. He's kind of the background character, but I like it because he's kind of he's narrating the vacation. He says, I must go to Cove Cafe to get the wifey the caffeine for the day. And I don't know, because anyway, I will get the link, but I'm at that point where I can't consume enough like seeing the ship. So I'm super excited for that. And don't forget tomorrow night on the live call-in show, we are going to talk about the cruise. We're going to reveal the dining rotation for our cruise because it has been set. And I do know that. So if you want to know where you're going to dine each night, we know. And I will tell that on tomorrow night's live call-in show. So tune in for that live. We'll have that. And so that's what we're going to be doing. So that's what's going on around here. It's finally nice today. I'll say that it's going to be 85 and sunny. Rock on. I can't take the top down on the Jeep though, because it's too much work. So I'll have to put it right back up to go to the airport on Tuesday. So I'm kind of bummed about that because it's really nice top down, like take the doors off and stuff. That I'm just not going to do that until I get back from Florida. Because it, like, if you've ever had a Jeep and you take the doors off and the top, it's a lot of work. So that's going to have to wait till after I get home because I just don't want to have to do that and put them back on. Anyway, but good weekend here. Doing it a day early. Just where you're like, Mike, why are you doing this on Saturday? Did you forget what day of the week it is? Pam's getting her hair cut. So I had a little bit of extra time today. So I thought, I'll do it today. Why not? So here we are. All right. So let's get to the feedback. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter show because our shows have been getting out of hand with the regular shows. They're like, I'm not trying to make them so long and I'm not trying to take up your whole week because I know you have other shows you listen to and I get it. And I appreciate that. So let's get to the feedback from last week's show. You guys, I totally believe this. Everybody deserves their walk off. You deserve your flowers. Like everybody works hard, whether you're a postman, whether you're a construction worker, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a police officer, whether you work at Chick-fil-A, whether you work at McDonald's, whatever you do, whether you work in an office, everybody deserves the coworkers to line the halls. some kind of a banner to bust through at the end. At the end of your journey, everybody should get a walk off. Nobody should leave the office on your last day with just your box of your goods in hand. Like that just makes me sad. I was thinking about that whole last week, and it just really made me sad. All right, Trisha said, that's such a sweet story. I know you're always talking up your girls, but you're a pretty awesome husband, dad, and friend. I'm too young for my own walk off, but I hope my husband is as considerate when I get to that point. And after surviving fifth grade with my own daughter, I can understand the need to retire. Well, thank you. No, I mean, that wasn't the point of it. The point of it was I just want everybody to think about those folks that you come in contact with in these situations, right? And just don't let anybody walk off into the sunset alone, right? I mean, I don't know if that's the right term, but give people their flowers, because it doesn't take much to go to the grocery store, grab a bouquet, make a card, grab a card. In my case, it was a book, because that book was special to me. Oh, the Places You'll Go. Pam knew it. It was my tradition with my class next door every year. I read Oh, the Places You'll Go. And that was kind of a fancy card. Cards are so expensive nowadays. The book wasn't that much more expensive. But yeah, give everybody their walk. I always told my sixth graders this when I taught, that one of the coolest things you can do, and I think 12-year-olds got this, is that you have the opportunity every day to make somebody else's day. And it's not that hard. You can open a door for an older person. You can give somebody a compliment. You can, there's so many ways, like for adults, you can pay somebody's bill at the drive-through behind you if you have a little extra that week. There's so many ways you can help somebody that's easy, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's going to make you feel good. Like, oh, I did something. And not that you do it for yourself, but it does make you feel good. And then it comes back around. It really does. And so, let people give somebody a walk off. It keeps good going. We need a lot of good in the world. And Dennis also says, congratulations to Pam on her retirement. I've enjoyed seeing your pictures on Instagram related to her last day. This was a great episode. I smiled when you mentioned the clap out. The elementary school both of my boys attended is around the block from my house. They have had a tradition of clapping out retiring teachers, principals, and other administrators. They clap out the fifth graders on their last day. Then they clap out the seniors before they graduate from high school. I was returning from an errand on Friday just as they were clapping out the fifth graders. I wanted to stop and watch, but I couldn't because of traffic. God, I love that they clap out the administrators and the teachers. I never thought about that. That's super cool. I agree about giving everyone their props when they reach the end of their journey. As soon as you started talking about the Cardinals, I knew you were going to mention the last home game from Melina Pujols and Wainwright. That was one of my favorites as well. I don't get as much Cardinal baseball in Texas as I would like, but I made sure to see that one. Yeah. Speaking of Cardinal baseball in Texas, last night, that was a smoking by the Rangers. Anyway, one last thing. I also love this episode of Mike in the Midwest because it reminded me of my dad's retirement almost 9 years ago. He was a doctor and served as the director of the emergency room. He was also the medical director for many of the fire departments and EMS services in the St. Louis area. As he neared retirement, it was a steady stream of tokens of appreciation from all those he worked with. He helped save a lot of lives over nearly 40 years, and it was great to see him recognized for it. That is super. See, I had no idea, Dennis. I had no idea. That is super cool, because first responders and folks that put themselves in harm's way for the rest of us, what a legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the people that are so special, because they don't even blink an eye to save the rest of us. And thank God they're there. And wow. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, to have a dad that was that, that had that much impact on the world, that's truly special. All right, load more comments. So apparently we have more. Oh, Billy Bean here says, congratulations to Pam. 28 years of teaching is quite an accomplishment, and I'm sure that she appreciated your efforts to make her last day on the job one of the best ones. I hope so. I'm glad she did. No, she did. And then we got to go to a little place in Florissant where our school was. Actually, after we went by our old elementary school and did some pictures one last time where we met, We went to our old classrooms and did those pictures. We did a little heart around pod D because that was our pod, where our classrooms were. We took pictures in front of our two classes, 135 for me, 137 for her. Then we went to Cugino's, which is a little Italian place, which is now a sports bar. Used to be a Italian place, but man, they had a good honey chicken sandwich when I was there. And that margarita that I had that morning tasted. It was like afternoon, tasted so good. And she had her beer, her first beer of retirement. Oh man, just saying, felt good. I was so happy for her. I was crying. Somebody asked me, one of the retired teachers from our district on Facebook, like, did she cry? I'm like, no, but I did. Because she doesn't cry, but I do. So let's see here. Oh, hey, Mohawk, I didn't see you there. And hey, Margie. Let's see. Oh, and they're having bad weather in Scotland, he says. So let's see here. So that's the feedback from last week's show. Now, if you have feedback from this show or any other show, I love feedback. Just come over to patreon.com/be our guest podcast and leave that there. Now, today's topic, it's called Since the World Began. And I got a book years and years ago that may have changed my life. It may be why we're here talking today. And I got this book for $1. And then I got a bunch of copies of this book for $1 more. And the reason I say that, and I still have this book on the bookshelf in my garage or in my living room, or the basement living room. We have like a rec room by the pool table. And I look at this book all the time, and this book makes me happy. It's called Since the World Began. And it's called Walt Disney World, the First 25 Years. And I came upon this book at my local grocery store. Now, Dennis will know this grocery store. It's called Schnucks. And I still remember the day I was shopping at Schnucks, and it was in the dairy section. Why this was in the dairy section, I have no idea. It was like a bin. It was a closeout bin. It was just like a big bin of random books. I mean, just a bunch of books that had nothing in common, just closeout books, and they all had $1. They were all for $1. They had a price tag on them for $1. I wish I'd have left it on there, but I took it off. Just random books for $1. And this is a hardcover book. It's like a coffee table book. Beautiful book for $1. And I said, I'm getting that book for $1. And it's beautiful. And so it celebrates the first 25 years of Walt Disney World. And it's by Jeff Curdy with a foreword by Roy E. Disney. And I just remember getting this book and just diving into it. And it talks about, obviously, the first 25 years of Walt Disney World. Now, remember, I got this in 2001, probably because it's the first 25. Well, what would that have been? 25 years. So, no, so it would have been 71, 81, 91. So 96. So this would have been like 96. So this would have been like right at the beginning of the internet era. So this was like, because again, I grew up in the encyclopedia era, right? Where you would go to the library and get a travel book, the Brommer's guides, the Frommer's guides, or the Birnbaum's guides. I mean, I was that generation that would check out all those travel guides from the library. But when you got a book like this that you could own for $1, because it has a lot of those, schematic maps of what, Cinderella Castle was going to look like. And then, concept art, and then what the, pictures of when they were building it. But then they talked about, the Discovery Island, what it was like and all that kind of stuff. And I'm looking through here, like when they built Splash Mountain and added it, and how audio animatronics work in the Magic Kingdom, because it goes park by park. Then I like the second half of the book the best, because it talked about the resorts. It talked about, like, I'm trying to get here. Like, there were pictures of the road signs at Walt Disney World. And like this section, the Walt Disney World Wayfinding Program, it talks about how the road signs are purple and why they're purple. I mean, nobody talked about that back then. That was so cool to me. But then it had a section on the golf courses at Walt Disney World. I mean, nobody talked about that. It talked about Disney Vacation Club Resort. Well, that's Old Key West. It talks about Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach. But there's this whole section on Port Orleans and Dixie Landings. I mean, that's how old it was, right? Like, you got to learn about the resorts, and downtown Disney. But then it talked about this Disney Cruise Line concept that was coming. It hadn't started, but they were, they were talking about it, that they were thinking about Disney Cruise Line. There's like an image of a ship that maybe, and it kind of looks like the Magic, but not exactly like the Magic. But there was speculation as to what might happen, and there might be a private island. They didn't know what it was going to be like, but they said the Disney Magic, the first ship of the Disney Cruise Line, will set sail in February of 1998. So this was before that happened. Talks a little bit about celebration, like you could actually live in a Disney town. I mean, this book, because chapter 8, it says all the ideas we can imagine. This was stuff that hadn't happened yet. I just remember I destroyed this book. I read this book so much because it had great pictures, but it had short articles because it talked about, like, this page right here, just about the Boardwalk Resort, about what you would do if you stayed at the Boardwalk or if you went to play golf at Walt Disney World, and why Pleasure Island was Pleasure Island, like that it was New Year's Eve each night. And for somebody that didn't get to go to Walt Disney World, every time I picked up this book, it was like taking a trip to Walt Disney World. Now, remember, this was in a time before podcasts and before going onto YouTube and seeing vlogs. Now, I just spent the very first part of this podcast telling you about how, what are we like? We're like 35 days away from our cruise, and I just keep consuming. Sometimes these are terrible vlogs. I mean, they're just people walking around with an iPhone that's really like bouncing around. It almost makes me seasick. So I typically watch them when I walk on the treadmill, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's giving me a headache. But I just want to see, like, what's cabanas look like, or, I just want to see around the ship. But I mean, some of them are bad because they're not like stabilized or just a mess. We didn't have any of that content back then, but it was all about your imagination. But to read, like, okay, well, what are these two resorts, Port Orleans and Dixie Landings? They say they're sister resorts. So how are they alike, but how are they different? Like, if I ever stayed there, remember, I didn't ever stay there at this point. I had never been there. So my imagination ran wild. Old Key West, what would it be like to go on a golf course down there? Pleasure Island, what would that be like? And when I got this book, and here's the thing, I got one copy right when I was at Schnucks that day, and I was like, dude, I stole this thing for $1. I went back. I think it was the next time I needed groceries. There were 2 more copies in that same bin. I bought them again. I bought 2 bars. Like, dude, for $1, I'm getting another 2 copies. So I ended up with 3 copies of this book. And what I did was I took 1 copy and put it in my classroom library for my kids to read. My kids love this book too at school because it was a picture book, right? There were tons of pictures. It was easy to read. And my kids would, because we had free reading every day. And this thing was always taken off the shelf in my classroom. I just made sure nobody jacked it. I was always careful. Like, at the end of the day, nobody took it home. But my kids loved looking at this because it was the exact same thing that I had. It was an escape. It was a chance to dream. Like, they'd be like, and they'd always ask me questions about it. And as a teacher, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's talk about it, because it got me excited. They'd be like, Mr. Rallman, what's that big ball? I'm like, oh, that's Epcot. There's a ride inside that. It's called Spaceship Earth. It kind of teaches you about the history of communication. They'd be like, well, what's that? I'm like, well, like kind of how phones work. But before that, how we learned how to write and how we put writing onto paper. It was called papyrus. It was in Egypt. Well, we kind of learned about that in social studies. I'm like, right. And that's a ride at Walt Disney World. And they make that connection. And it was so cool because of a $1 book that was somehow like in the cheese section at Schnucks. So it's funny how life can make, like, I found this book on it was probably like a Sunday night grocery run for $1. And it just got me fired up for Disney. Who knows why that was in that bin? Who knows why? I don't know why Schnucks came across Disney books and why this really nice book, the price on it, FPT is $24.95. And in Canada, it was $33.95. Why was it $1 at my grocery store? I don't know. I mean, what are the chances I'd have come across it and got it for $1? but I did, and it got me excited. Maybe it made me a bigger Disney fan. I don't know. I think I'm really a big person on I think things happen for a reason. But I read the snot out of this book and it got me fired up for Disney. So I wonder if you have a story like this. Is there like a piece of like was there something random that made a connection with you that like you just couldn't put down with Disney over the past like before the internet took off that really got you hooked? You know, a travel guide, or maybe something early on, like an old VHS tape or something like that, that you just wore out that made you fired up for Disney. Because this was mine since the world began, and it's on the shelf, and I pick it up still. I mean, 2025, I still pick this thing up, and it still gets me excited. So I just want to share that with you. I don't know if you can still get this book. It's probably not a buck, but it's still awesome. It's still awesome. So anyway, hope you're having a great week, and hope to see you tomorrow night on the live call-in show where we're going to reveal the dining rotation for the podcast cruise. So until we talk again, it sounds like the Discord's going crazy, so you better get over there. I will see you over there in the clubhouse. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.